Welcome back to Talk of the Town.
We are talking with Dr. Kevin Lehman, child psychologist and author, about relationships and society and
life in general.
Society and political correctness and things that you want to talk about, things that just go where you want to go.
And you two at break time were just having a little
We
fight.
were real good.
I enjoyed watching you fight. I think you ought to share that fight with the audience.
Kim thinks that everybody is more honest today than ever before.
Phil thinks that people are less honest today than they've been in the past.
I think that political correctness has taken over society. I think that people are, in fact, less honest. I think you can't talk about things like, for instance, I think people go around being a little bit afraid to admit that they have faith in this world, and that maybe there is a difference between man and woman. And you can't, and you hear things about sex that that all sex is rape, and there are crazy people.
In all things you will have people who are fringe. In all things you will have people who are extreme. That is to be expected. I think in today's day and age with media and the availability of information, many times the extreme gets the attention, but I think even sometimes the extreme getting the attention overall helps us to communicate and to be more open to ideas that women are equal and that women can have equal pay and can do the same job. And then at the same time, we have brilliant people like Dr. Kevin Lehman who are saying, but remember, equal is not the same.
Doctor, don't you think that society over the last several generations has moved to a point where the common sense of society, the common sense attitudes that our parents, that past generations have had, has tended to be softened, and
so
common sense
you're
has
asking
gone?
Dr. Lehman if he thinks common sense is still out there?
Well, there was a sense of community, though, years ago, where if a kid misbehaved in a group, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for someone to step in and say, hey, son, don't do that. Daughter, don't do that.
Right.
That's inappropriate. We'll do that today. And they'll show up with an attorney in hand with, what right do you have to tell my son to do this and do that? So it's been skewed so far that there's really a battle, I think, that goes on between the sexes today. Where the sexes should complement each other today, they're at war with each other in many areas. And so what Phil is saying, I think, is true about the political correctness. There's certain things that when you go treading in that area, be careful, because you are going to get hammered, okay? There's certain
and I don't
things
think that's a good thing.
You just don't bring up, whether it's faith or whatever, or differences in men and women, because we've been sold a bill of goods, with this unisex society. But I think what Kim is saying is we become so blatant, so truthful about things like sex, where we never talked about sex. Kids were brought up at a time in America where they were to be seen and not heard. Today, they are overheard. We have thrown the baby out with the bathwater. We've let children be in authority over parents. So kids are running families today. They're hedonistic little suckers, to put it bluntly. They need, they want. Parents give kids the new Goliath. It's called a cell phone. Give them an S5 or a 6 to a fourth grader? Would you really give a cell phone to a fourth grader? I'm here to tell you, they do it in huge numbers. I wrote a book called Planet Middle School that comes out in October. In that book, I shared my experience going around and talking to people in junior high schools, we used to call them junior high schools, middle schools, and asked the people, the counselors, the staff, what percentage of kids have internet capability through their cell phones in your school? 95%. All kids essentially have cell phones. The internet is not the greatest thing for kids. I wrote a book called It's Your Kid, Not a Gerbil. Parents today love activities for kids. You go on Good Morning America and say activities are not good for children. They look at Dr. Lehman like he's crazy. One of the things we did right in raising our 5 kids, we didn't have them in every activity under the sun. And so we diluted, I think, our ability to put that indelible imprint on our own children because we essentially farm them out to strangers. You drop them off at a kitty kennel and go do your thing.
I don't want to be one of those people who generationally say, okay, the good old days were always better. We had it better in our day, in progress, I just don't want to say that now things have changed and it used to be better. But progress is not always better. I mean, progress is not always positive. And like you say, the cell phones are not necessarily a step forward in the way we raise our kids. And
well, but see, the discretion is gone. I love cell phones. I write books on cell phones. I do major interviews on cell phones. I'm in love with my cell phone, and I have to tell you, as soon as I'm off this interview, the first thing I'll do is turn that little sucker on and see what I have to do. That's how people go to a movie. That's how young people, Kim's age and younger, that's how they do life. They do life on their cell phone.
And that's okay.
It's okay.
And that is okay. And when the child is behaving the way you're saying, and when a fourth grader has a cell phone, you might want to say kids today, but I'd say parents today.
Oh, parents today have changed big time. Let's talk about praise for a second. If you go out in the streets of Western New York and say, hey, Dr. Kevin Lehman says praise is destructive with children, they'll say, who is that nut? I'm here to tell you that there's a difference in praise and encouragement. And praise is not good for kids. In fact, now they have false praise. And I cite an example. One morning I was reading USA Today. They had a feature article on false praise. To show you how vain I am, I knew my name would be in that article. I just knew it because I've been talking about false praise for 30 years. I skimmed the article, no name. I'm not in that thing. And they used baseball as an example. And I was in one of the first Little Leagues here in Amherst years ago out on North Forest Avenue, or North Forest Road. And they used an example, a Little League pitcher who throws three straight pitches over the plate and strikes this Little Leaguer out. And the young parents, when the kid strikes out, doesn't swing once, is screaming, great at bat, Matthew, great at bat. I got news for you, Matthew, you little loser. It was a lousy at bat. You didn't even swing. Now, don't send me an email about calling a kid a loser. That was for your entertainment. But what would have helped, it seems to me, is after that game is for Dad to come up to little Matthew and say, hey, Matt, rough day at the plate. I'm going to be home early on Wednesday and Thursday night. If you want me to throw batting practice to you, I'd be glad to. So I think we've lost sight of the fact that kids can fail, that you don't have to overreact to every little simple thing a kid does and invent success when it's clearly failure. I think failure is a great teacher in life. And I think we have become so politically incorrect that people have failed to be honest and straightforward and say to kids, this is unacceptable. Or to a wife to say to a husband, you can't treat me like that. That's not right. And that's where I think, where Kim says we become more honest in things, I think she's right on. We have become more honest with things. But you've got the other side of the coin, and that is the political correctness, which seems to not help anybody, I don't think.
Well, one of the things that I tell my kids, for as long as I can remember, one of the things that I've stressed with them the most, of anything that is important, I tell them a sense of appreciation for what they have is the single most important thing that I think that they need. And anything else is not really that important to me. They need to appreciate what they have. Most important. Am I wrong?
No, you're right on. In fact, the book that's coming out in the fall called, what I call it?
The book in the fall, the middle school?
Yeah, Planet Middle School. I
Crazy
forget my
middle school
titles.
kids?
I have 52 books, give me a break. Planet Middle School. And I try to sell the parent on exactly what Phil Arno just said. And that is, you have to teach your kids an appreciation and a gratitude for what they have. Well, how do you do that? Would you hand the car keys to your teenager who is not responsible in the home or school? If you do, let me use a clinical term to describe you, Phil. You're nuts. Don't do that. So in other words, be an authority, know which way the good ship is family, family is going on the lake of life. But my question is, do you have a port of call? Do you know where you're going as a family? And most families today are rudderless. They don't know where they're going. And that's where faith comes in. And that's where common sense comes in and common direction. And, you know, there's not a woman here on this earth who's married who wants to feel controlled. Well, what are us men great at? Controlling. I've never had a woman say, oh, Dr. Lehman, I just love the way my husband Ralph controls me. I just love it. I've never heard it yet. So as men, I think if you want to be a leader in the family, understand what a precious gift this woman is that you're married to, and make sure that you honor her in front of the kids. Let the kids look up and see a marriage that's worthy of emulation. I think that's a pretty cool thing.
Balance. Sounds like a lot of balance.
Balance is a key word.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a parenting question in the context of appreciation and whatnot? The but whys, right? The kids, well, why? No, but why? But why? I used to say to my kids, now, did I ruin my children? The but why, I used to look at my daughter and say, because I'm mean.
Yeah, you know, my friend John Rosemond, John's a good friend. He writes in the Buffalo paper. I don't know if you read his column or not, but John is one of the few psychologists that sees eye to eye with Kevin Lehman. And we become friends over the years, but he just wrote a column about because I said so and why that makes sense. Parents have given up their authority. They want to be their child's best friend. And like I say, they do homework, they do the science project for the kids. They want them in non-competitive soccer where everybody gets a trophy. I mean, it's crazy what we do, thinking that somehow that's going to help kids have self-esteem. Self-esteem, the self-esteem chasers, I feel sorry for. You want your kid to have healthy self-esteem, put them to work. Let them give back to the family. No one member is more in the family is more important than what? The family. So everybody works, everybody gives back. And to me, it's not rocket science, it's pretty simple stuff.
All right, kid, I'm gonna put you to work. Take us into the next segment.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, Western New York, we'll be right back with Dr. Kevin Lehman. Stay tuned.